Third time. They would have fooled us for the third time. Beautifully done, Shin.
In this video, I will reveal how Shin Lim fooled Penn and Teller for the third time on Fool Us. Here's a quick recap of what happened. In this trick, Shin Lim holds onto a blank playing card and asks Penn to think of any color of the rainbow. Penn thinks of the color red, and by waving the blank card back and forth, the word red suddenly appeared on the blank playing card. Shin then asks Teller to think of any number. Teller thought of the number 47. Shin Lim once again repeated the motion, and this time the word red had transformed into the number 47, and even had written the number in words to prove how confident he was with his prediction. Finally, he challenged Penn to think of absolutely anything he wanted, and Penn thought of the word Sun Ra. To our surprise, Shin Lim was even able to predict that magically on his blank playing card. Penn and Teller were amazed, as they couldn't figure out his trick. Well, how did he perform this trick? Let's figure it out together. After watching Shin Lim's performance, you might assume this is pure witchcraft. Well, there is a logical explanation to all magic tricks. I'll give some hints, see if you can figure out how the trick is done yourself before I explain it in detail. The very obvious thing that you may have spotted yourself is that all three of the predictions were not printed on the card but were written by hand. If the predictions were written in a printed form, the trick would have been a lot more interesting because it would prove he genuinely did predict the word beforehand. We then observe there is a slight mistake right here, which further supports our first observation of it being handwritten. This also implies that whoever is writing these predictions was rushing with it, since they made a mistake and tried to correct it. This area right between his coat is extremely dark. Seems like a pretty innocent observation, but you'll realize soon that the devil is in the details. We also find that only after Penn or Teller called out what they were thinking of was when we noticed his middle, index, and pinky finger slightly move, as if he was trying to grab a hold of something. Well, if you haven't figured out by now, the trick is fairly easy to perform, but it can't be done alone. It requires an assistant. The assistant, in this case, would be most likely Shin Lim's spouse, Casey Thomas. To perform this trick, Casey was wearing black gloves and had blank cards in front of her that were blank on one side and completely black on the other. The moment Penn was asked to call out his thought of color, Casey wrote the word red on the card as fast as she could. When the moment came to pass the card to Shin, Shin Lim tilted his hand towards himself. Casey then placed the blank card upon the card Shin was holding. After squaring up the two cards, he showed that the word red had magically appeared on it. The purpose of the black gloves and the black side of the card, you may have figured out by now, was to camouflage the card transferring process with the black shirt Shin was wearing. To further support our logical explanation, we observe no crease in the card he displayed. Therefore, a flap card wasn't used. When it comes to playing card changes, it is executed by either removing or placing a card on top of another card. In this case, a card was being placed. For the second and third prediction, the same principle was used, where Casey wrote the called-out word and handed it over to Shin while wearing a black glove. So after the very last prediction, Shin was holding 4 cards together. Now you may be wondering, if he was holding 4 cards together, why didn't they split apart immediately when he was holding them with only 2 fingers? Well, the explanation for this is pretty straightforward and requires the blank cards to be gimmicked as well. The blank cards were gimmicked such that 2 of the 4 cards contained shim magnets. Shim magnets are extremely thin magnets sold by Shin himself. The remaining 2 blank cards contained a metallic shim inside. Therefore, all 4 cards were sandwiched like so. Behind this mask, only the truth remains till we meet again.